Hello, Mount Holyoke Psychology 201 students. Welcome to your tutorial on histograms. This is your lab instructor, Natasha. In this example, we're going to pretend that you bumped into some friends that work at Mount Holyoke Facilities Management, and you're letting them know that you're working with histograms in your statistics class this week. You'll explain that, as you remember from lecture, a histogram is used to graphically summarize and display the distribution of a data set. So your friends at Facilities Management offer to help give some data that they just collected for you to play around with. So they collected data from 40 Mount Holyoke students living in Ham McGregor because they wanted to collect this data to help determine which walking paths require more maintenance. And so they gave us data that shows how many times each student has walked around Upper Lake this semester and how many times each student has walked to Blanchard this semester. They thought we might enjoy playing with this data. So here's the data. The first variable is the number of times each student walked around Upper Lake, and then the number of times they walked to Blanchard. The first thing we're going to want to do is go into Graphs, down to Legacy Dialogues, and over to Histogram. Let's say we'll build the histogram for Upper Lake walks first. We'll move that over to the variable box, and we'll create a title. Something simple like Histogram of walks around Upper Lake. Then we'll hit Continue, and the OK button. Then our output window will come. As you can see, on the y-axis, it's the frequency, the number of counts in each bin. So in this case, there's a lot of students who hadn't walked around Upper Lake at all. And the x-axis shows us how many times, the number of times they've walked around Upper Lake. So again, a lot only walked 0, where there's someone way up here who's walked around Upper Lake quite a bit. Okay, we can minimize the output window, and now we can build the histogram for Blanchard walks. We go to Graphs, Legacy Dialogues, and over to Histogram. This time, we'll take out the Upper Lake walks and move in the Blanchard walks. We'll have to change the title to reflect this. So histogram of walks to Blanchard. We'll hit Continue, and then OK. Now in our output, we'll see that this data is more normally distributed than the skewed data for the walks around Upper Lake. But let's say we wanted to take a closer look at these. We can see the scales on these are quite different. So in this first Upper Lake, the y-axis goes all the way up to 30, whereas it only goes to 12 for the Blanchard walks. And then the x-axis on the Upper Lake walks goes from -20 up to about 80, where it goes from 100 to 350 for the Blanchard walks. So let's say we wanted to make these more comparable, because in case for whatever reason we wanted to look at them side by side. To do this, we'd click on one of the graphs first. So we'll click on the histogram for the walks around Upper Lake. You actually have to double click, and then the chart editor will pop up. If we click on this blue button at the top where it says select the x-axis, let's click on that. There are a number of tabs up here, but we're interested in the scale tab. If we're going to make the x-axis the same as the other histogram that we have for walks around Blanchard, or walks to Blanchard, let's start them both at 0, since that will incorporate the data from both of them. So we'll start at 0, and it'll go up to, let's say, 325. It doesn't look like the data goes past 325. And we'll hit Apply. And we can close out of this. Now, you don't have to save anything in the chart editor. You actually just X out of it. When you do that, you'll see that it changes your histogram in the output window. So this is what you can cut and paste into a Word document if you were going to submit it in a lab in a Word format. So now we'll have to change the axes for the other histogram as well to match these. So we'll double click on it to get the chart editor. The x-axis will change. We're going to start this at 0 and change it to 325 to match the histogram of the walks around Upper Lake. And we can close out of here. And then we'll also want to change the y-axis to match the y-axis of walks around Upper Lake. So we'll still start at 0, but this time we're going to go up to 30, just like the other histogram. We'll hit Apply. And close out of this and close here. So now you can see these graphs look different, right? The bins are more narrow in this one. They're shorter in this one, but that's just to see if you wanted to compare visually have a similar scale for both of them. Another feature that you can look at when you are looking at your histogram is that it has the mean and standard deviation as well as the number to the right of each of the histograms. So that's a good way to check your work when you're working with a data set and you're creating histograms as well as calculating means and standard deviations. So that's a simple way to build histograms using SPSS. And until next time, remember, don't be mean, be above average.